Oh, I love being back in the shed. Guys, welcome to 2022. Another big year coming up for Off-Road Crusader. If you want to know more about it, check out my previous video. As for today, well, we're in the shed and we're going to be starting a new project. This DIY project I'm going to walk through with you guys as well. Give you some, I suppose, tips, some design tricks, etc, etc. Maybe some inspiration, who knows? Maybe I'm good enough for that. And look, we are going to be building a rear drawer setup for the back of my 200 series. But this video series is going to be more about the process you go through, all the way from thinking about, yes, I want to do that, all the way through to finally putting your gear in the car and closing those drawers and saying, you beauty, I built that for myself. So come along for the ride. This is going to be a good one, I think. Well, pretty sure. It's going to be a good one. I'm going to make it a good one. So you want to build a rear drawer setup for the back of your four-wheel drive, or maybe not even a four-wheel drive. Maybe you've got a, I don't know, little Ford Fiesta or something you want to build some drawers in. That's okay, go for it, why not? There is no reason you cannot do this job yourself. Yes, you will need some basic tools, maybe a little bit of carpentry know-how, that sort of thing, but nothing that you are definitely not capable of doing by yourselves. If you've got a bit of a workspace or even just, you know, a spot in the shed where you can lay out some tools, then you can do exactly this. So for my 200 series, I want to build a rear drawer setup. This rear drawer setup is going to contain my fridge. It's going to contain 1 to 2 drawers. I want it to have a slide out table that I can prepare on. And I also want to include things like my water tank and my 12 volt setup as well, all in the back there. So there's a bit going on. I want to do a lot, and I want this thing to do a lot for me. So I really need to get down and figure out how exactly that's all going to work. If you are also in this situation, you need to sit down and figure out exactly what you want. Yeah, it's all well and good saying I want some drawers in there, but what do you want them to actually achieve? Is there some prerequisites you need to do? Do you need to carry a dog or something in the back? Do you need to carry prams? Is it just for you? Is it for the whole family? Do you have a fridge? Is the fridge going to fit? Do you want it to slide in and out? Etc, etc. So there's a lot of considerations to think of. I would highly recommend writing everything down, figuring out exactly what you need from this, and then how you can integrate that into a rear drawer setup. Lots of inspiration online in terms of pictures of what people have done previously, or sometimes even companies who build rear drawer setups will share their work, and you can see all their bright ideas of how they've managed to squeeze in, say, a 95-litre fridge and a dog and, I don't know, a pram and everything else you need in the back there, an induction cooker, all that sort of jazz. So definitely do some research and figure out what you need personally and what's going to work best for you, because your setup and your ideal setup may not be the same as what mine is. So check it out. Once you've figured out exactly what you want your rear drawer setup to do, I would recommend drawing it if you can. Get a piece of paper, just do a vague outline of where the back of the car is, where the boot is, and just draw in what you want it to look like. You know, do you want 2 drawers next to each other? Do you want them laying down nice and low? Do you want the medium height? Do you want a stack of drawers? Do you want a fridge slide? Just draw whatever it is you think. It doesn't have to be perfect, literally just squares and just write in them. From there, you're going to want to actually measure out the space you're going to be working with. This can be easy or difficult depending on the vehicle, because some of them will have a weird sort of boot layout from where you can sort of build your drawers. The next main goal, before you even get to, you know, actually building something, is get all your componentry there and have it in front of you. And I'm talking everything which is needed for your rear drawer setup. You want to include a fridge, make sure you get the fridge. You want to put a fridge slide in it, get the fridge slide. You're going to be building drawers, get your runners, get your handles or your locks. Going to do a water tank setup, get your water tank. If you're going to have a pump, get your pump. Sometimes when you get down the track of saying, yeah, I'm going to put all this in there, you build the rear drawer setup and then say, okay, cool, now I'm going to put a battery in here. There's now no room. If you have that battery originally, you can measure it up, you can figure out exactly what's going to work and move forward from there. So I would highly recommend getting all of your componentry together. spend a bit of time, go through all the bits and pieces you needed, order from wherever it needs to come from. If you can, physically see the object before you buy it. It does make it a little bit easier knowing that, okay, well, these drawer runners are quite thick, or these handles are not going to work in my application. But get everything there ready to go. Get your components ready, and that way everything there you will know is going to fit in your rear drawer setup. And finally, the last thing I'm going to touch on for this video is to actually grab all of your items and, where possible, mock them up in the car. Where your water tank's going to go, figure out where that's going to go. Can it be mounted? You need to hard mount it somehow. You need to hold it down. How are you going to do that? If you're putting a battery in, obviously you need to hard mount that and figure out how that's going to be. You don't want these things flying around and being loose and sliding and that sort of stuff. You want them to be nice and secure and firm. So definitely things like your batteries, water tanks, anything heavy. If you've got an inverter, if you're running a DC-DC charger, that sort of stuff, figure out how you're going to mount it, whether it needs to be accessible, whether it can be, buried in the bowels of your drawer system, or whether or not it needs to be sitting proud and everyone can see it to show off how much money you've spent on all your componentry. And now that you're ready to go, you've mocked up a design, you've gone through your ideas process, you've done some research, you've bought all your materials, you've bought all the componentry you think you're going to need, you've mocked it up in the car, you've done some measurements, and you're like, right, cool, let's jump on it. We're going to start that in the next video, but this one's all about getting ready and doing all that concept sort of work. So I'm going to show you through exactly what I'm going to be using in my rear drawer setup, and hopefully when eventually these videos all come out, you'll be able to see this all in the car and ready to go. In my rear drawer setup, I'm going to be building mine out of plywood. This is usually readily available from most hardware stores. It's easy to work with, it's relatively cheap, and is fairly forgiving if you make a mistake or you want to change something or do something custom. So that's what I would recommend using. However, if, for example, your skill set involves metalworking, or perhaps working with, say, framework or aluminium or something like that, definitely go with that. Make something unique and build to your strengths. So the base of mine's going to be 12mm ply. I've got 2 sheets of that ready to go. One's obviously going to be for the base. One's going to be for the main structure. So I'm talking there's going to be an upright, and then there'll be a tabletop over the top. I'm not going to show you those because they're nice and big and they're stuck down the back there. Now, with holding everything together, obviously you can use glue and nails and screws and whatever else you want to do. This one here, I wanted to sort of build it so it was much stronger. I've decided to use a bunch of these. So these are like captive nuts, and you can buy them in different sizes. So these ones here, they have a threaded hole in the middle, which you can buy in an M6, M8, M10 sort of size. You drill a hole through your wood, you place these through the hole and basically give them a hammer. As these tighten up, they actually pull in closer to the wood and allow you to have a threaded hole in the wood, and you don't need to be able to get to the back of it to put a nut on or something like that. So really, really cool with them. I've got 3 sizes there. I think I've got sort of enough to do what I want to do. And I think they're going to be the best way to moving forward, because that way I can use bolts and I can tighten everything down and not have to worry about getting behind things to be able to tighten them up, or having protruding, bolts or whatever like that. So I've got a bunch of them. This is my water tank. You can see it's got that sort of shape to it where it goes over the wheel arches. These can fit very well into smaller 4-wheel drives and utes and stuff like that, because they've got that cutout for wheel arches. This is actually kind of small, I suppose, for the back of the 200, but the idea being that it's nice and slimline, it's tall, and if you wanted to, you could use it as gravity fed, because all the weight of the water is pushing down on the water outlet, rather than having like a low wide tank where you'd really need something to suck out of it. So that's really cool. It's fairly thin as well. Like, I think it's only about 100mm thick at the widest point, and that's basically going to go behind my drawers and in between the drawers and the rear seat, and that's going to be mounted to the rear drawer system there. Complementing that, I've got a little 12-volt water pump here. This one's only 4 litres a minute. That's all you really need for these sorts of things. I don't want to go overboard and be sucking water out of it at a huge rate of knots, but I also want to have some sort of pressure there, which in the Prado, when I had a little water, it was exactly the same pump as this one. It was amazing to be able to just have that bit of a flow of water, and that way you can stick your head underneath the tap or something like that and wash yourself, rather than everything being gravity fed. Now, the bit that I'm very excited about with this rear drawer setup is the 12-volt system. Obviously, iTech World are sponsoring Off-Road Crusader. They've given me one of their 120 amp hour lithium batteries, Really, really awesome unit, this thing here. I have already used it for running a fridge while we've gone camping, and I was very surprised at how long it lasted, even after, what was it, about 2 days or something we were out there, and it was still nearly at 90% capacity. It was bloody beautiful. So definitely recommend, if you can, going a lithium. Way lighter. This is only about 11 kilos versus, you know, upwards towards 30 for your AGMs and your lead acids and that sort of stuff. So that's going to be sitting basically between the water tank and the rear drawers, and I'm going to mount that down. I'm going to basically build some L brackets and then have like a clamp system to go over the top to hold this thing in place so it doesn't go anywhere. Connecting this to the rest of the 12 volt system, I've bought myself another kit. So these ones here have a bunch of these terminals. So these ones here obviously get soldered and crimped onto your wires. There's some ones here for some big wires and ones for little ones. I think these are a little bit neater than just the crimp-on eye terminals that you can get. And there's a bunch of heat shrink and stuff that comes with these as well. So I'm going to be attempting and sort of really working towards improving my, I suppose, electrical work in terms of crimping, just the presentation of it. Using all your like convoluted tubing, heat shrink, all that sort of stuff, making it look like a real professional job. I mean, I'm hoping it is actually going to be a professional job, but if I can make it look like it, then it's half the battle. So managing my 12 volt setup is this bad boy. This is a RedArc Manager 30. This big buffer. That is going to be managing everything, all the power going to my lithium battery. This one here, obviously because my rear batteries, or my battery is going to be in the rear, this is going to be mounted in the rear as well. It does everything from your solar, your DC, AC input, does your solar regulator, all that sort of jazz. Also comes with a shunt, so you can measure your, obviously, volts going in, out, amps, power draw, all that sort of jazz, and give you predictions of how long your system's going to last. The other really cool little thing I've got is one of these, one of them, an instruction booklet. You obviously need one of them. Some cardboard, because why not? Look at that. Got my hands on a Red Vision system from RedArc. This is really, really cool. I've read so many cool stories about people who are running the Red Vision system, and I can't wait to install it into the 200 and be operating everything from the touch of my phone or from the Red Vision screen, which is this little unit here. So this one's going to be mounted on the side of the drawer system. So if you're looking, not on the face of the drawers obviously, but there's going to be a wing panel. This one's going to be mounted there. There's going to be some outputs for power, for air from my compressor, and also for water as well. All of that's going to be mounted nice and neatly. That's going to be out of the way. It's going to give me displays of everything that's happening with my 12 volt system. The other cool thing with the Red Vision system is when you get the water tank sender unit, which comes through RedArc, you can actually use that to monitor the level of your water tank as well. So really, really excited to be installing all that sort of stuff into the 200. I can't wait to get started on this build. I've also got some other hardware, which I thought I would share with you as well. All this stuff I've just got from my local hardware store. So obviously, biggest one here, these are drawer runners. These ones here are 700mm long. They've got a 90 kilo rating capacity. I mean, it's pretty simple. This one here is going to be for my main sort of storage drawer. And obviously it's heavy duty. It's got enough space that I want it to run out. I decided not to have my drawers at full length, as in you can just about pull the whole drawer out, because I wanted to maintain some strength in that. And I think when you obviously release that as far as it'll go, there's a lot of levering force on there. And with what I'm planning to do with these, I didn't want to lever it too much. 700mm is plenty of room, and you can make the drawer itself 800mm and just have 100mm that at the back of the drawer where you have to sort of put things in, which is fine because it's easy enough to do anyway. The other set I have are these ones here. These are 550 long, and these ones here are for a push to open drawer. So you might have seen some of these with like your cabinetry and stuff inside. You give a small push on the drawer and then it comes back out towards you. I'm going to be using this for a pull-out table. So this one here is going to sit inside that storage drawer. You push on the face of the drawer at the front, the whole thing slides out towards you. There's 550mm of runner there. I'm going to have it 600 just so there's a little bit of table sitting inside. That way when you've got the table open, if you've got it on the outside and you're sort of levering it down, putting a bit of force on it, there's something there to actually, you know, physically stop it trying to come out rather than just the runners. So they're exciting to use. And these are the latches I'm going to be using here for the drawers. These ones are just like a compression lock. You just push down on the little locking mechanism there, and this will slide open. That's your stopper, and it holds everything in there. They're key lockable as well. That wasn't a prerequisite, but it's sort of, I suppose, nice to have there, knowing that you can physically stop the drawers from opening. So on those, you'll just push on that locking section there. This thing will move out the way, and then you can open the drawer as you need to. And then when you try to close it, as you push that in there, it's basically going to be a stopper against, say, the top of the drawer system, and it will lock it in and stop it from being able to move. This thing's obviously on a thread, so it's adjustable, so I'll be able to adjust that based on how thick those drawer faces are going to be. So the final thing I wanted to show off was these cool hinges that I found. So these ones here open like so. These are coffee table hinges, is the official name for them. And essentially it means that the tabletop, I can have a tabletop which say on top of my drawers, and then when I want to, I can lift it out of the way. The tabletop itself stays level, and I can keep that tabletop, but I can then access anything underneath that tabletop. So I'm going to be installing those on top of my storage drawer. That way when I pull the drawer out, there's going to be a bench already on top that I can use, and then I can basically lift this out of the way, and that's going to be access to my pantry. So in the pantry, I'm going to have obviously your cutlery, your bowls, your knives and forks, your spices, that sort of jazz. Those little things which you want to be able to get to, because I don't want this to be covering such a big cavity that you always need to be getting into it. But also it's not that hard to open the lid and just, you know, have an extra tabletop as well. So that's pretty much everything that's going to be going into my rear drawer setup. There's a few other bits and pieces which aren't that exciting, but, you know, obviously needed for the build. But these are the main ones I wanted to show you because I think they're the coolest. I'm very excited to be jumping into this one. I'm basically going to be building it, well, now, because it's the start of the year. There's a little bit of time off. I've got some time. Look, I want to have it ready for winter so that when winter rolls around, I've got a full drawer system ready to go, and it just makes that storage system so much easier. So thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you in part 2 of this video series. I will put a link up to it up that way, I believe it is, when that video comes out. If not, then hang around, it'll be there soon. That one's going to be going through sort of your construction side of things, how to build the drawers, how to sort of get your materials ready to go. I'm not going to be doing too much of a how-to, because if you want to learn carpentry skills, you should learn them from a carpenter or a cabinet maker or something like that. Even an auto sparky for all your 12-volt work and that sort of jazz. But I'm basically going to be showing how I do it. And if that helps you guys, then you know, this video has been a win. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time in Off-Road Crusader. Cheers.